Hey, Chandler Bolt here, and in this video I want to talk about what I call kind of the healthy dichotomy to goal setting and really how to bring these long-term big visions into day-to-day actionable items. Right now there's really three kind of principles that encapsulate what I'm trying to say here. Number one is called dream big, focus small. So I remember, watching some basketball with my favorite team, Clemson Tigers, and the coach. There was after the locker room. They're going through the NCAA tournament, March Madness, and they're winning. And he brings them together and he said, "Guys, just like I told you, dream big, focus small." And I thought, oh my gosh, that encapsulates exactly kind of how I live my life and how I try to teach for my teammates at self-publishing school, and really how I think anybody can accomplish big things over time. So dream big, focus small. Another way to say this is to have a long-term vision and a short-term focus. And then the third way to say this, and this is maybe my favorite, is having a telescope and a microscope, right? So you got your telescope so you can kind of look out far into the distance and say, hey, I see it, that's where I want to go. And then your microscope says, hey, how can I focus on what's right in front of me to make sure that I get there, right? Now I've got another video that I highly recommend that you check out. It talks about bloom where you're planted. So kind of how do you kind of focus on the day-to-day realities and make sure that you're using making the most out of what's right in front of you. So I definitely check that out. But really what this encapsulates is, how do I make sure that there's this mix of both? So number one, and this is probably most important, you got to have a North Star, right? If you don't know where you're going, you're going to get there. Meaning you're going to get somewhere, but you're just not going to know where you're trying to go. So you need to get clear first on where you're going. Where's your North Star? And some people are good at that. Most people aren't. But then even the people who are good at that, they struggle on connecting this to right here. So I'm always trying to kind of teach this to the teammates, employees at self-publishing school. It's like, okay, we've got a crystal vision of where we're going out there. Now, what do we need to do right now? What can I execute today, this week, this month, this quarter to make sure that we're hitting those long-term goals, right? Dream big, focus small, focus on the details. Telescope, look out in the future, but then have a microscope so that you focus on the smallest details, because little hinges swing big doors, right? And little things executed well over time produce extraordinary results. So really, most people, they don't execute on what's right in front of them. And that's the way to kind of compound that success and to really be able to succeed over the long term. Now, let me give one story, one example here, and I'll kind of take us home. So I remember in Student Painters, so this is an internship I had where I ran a business. They teach you how to run a house painting business. So my North Star, I said, I want to be number one in the company and I want to be Entrepreneur of the Year and do $100,000 in business. And now my manager was very smart. And one of the first things he said, that's great. Okay, so that's your North Star. How do we get there? What's our focus small? What's our microscope per se? So he said, okay, $100,000. Our average job size is $1,500. So that means you're going to need to sell, whatever that number was, 40 jobs or something like that. Okay, now the average close rate on an estimate, so if you give someone a price on painting their house, the average close rate is about 40%. Okay, so we're going to need to do X number of estimates. Now, on average, only 75% of people show up for their estimates. So that means you're going to need to book an extra 25% of estimates. Okay, now here's what do we need to do to get those number of estimates? Well, you need to drop 1,000 flyers per weekend. You need to knock on 100 doors. You need to, here are the things that you need to do. So we broke it all the way down to, okay, here's what you need to do this weekend. You need to drop 2,000 flyers. You need to cold call or door knock for 5 hours. You need to put out 15 lawn signs, get X number of leads that are going to turn into X number of appointments, that are going to turn into X number of jobs, that are going to turn into this long-term focus, right? This long-term goal, this telescope goal, this vision that I have. So what I would encourage you to do is think about this. What is your long-term focus? Right? What's that telescope kind of thing? Your dream big. What is that for you? And then how do you focus small? So how do you chunk that down all the way? So if you got these big goals, what are the numbers? What are the controllables? What are the things that are going to lead up and roll up into hitting that? And how do you win the day, win the week, win the month? because we call it kind of inside self-publishing school, it's like green day. So that's a day where we did better than what our goal was. So if our goal is, say, $500,000 in sales for the month, then we know that we need to hit, I think it's about $18,000 per day. So if we do more than $18,000 in that day, we're like, we had a green day. Meaning if we got a lot of red days in a row, then we're not focusing small. We shouldn't expect to hit that big vision. But if we're winning consistently, day in, day out, we're gonna hit those long-term goals. So what I encourage you to do is kind of think about, what are those long-term goals? What is your short-term focus? And how does this work in the day-to-day for you? How do you win the day? Okay, so I'd love to hear your feedback on this video. Comment below. Let me know what you think. If you use this, let me know if you have some wins. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. See ya.